Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the What You Need to H2Know podcast, where we feature the people, places, and projects in Ontario's water community. I'm Michelle Grenier, the Executive Director of the Ontario Waterworks Association, and today I have a special treat for you. Not only do we have an amazing guest joining us, but for this episode, I'm handing over the reins to a very special guest host. Our interviewer this week is Kat Farrow. Kat is a process and operations specialist at SEMA Plus. She's also a member of several OWWA committees, and she also chairs our Education and Outreach Task Force. She'll be introducing and leading the conversation with today's guest, and trust me, you are in for a fabulous conversation. So without further ado, I'll let Kat take it from here. Please enjoy.
Hi, and welcome to the podcast edition of What You Need to H2Know, where we feature the people, places, and projects in Ontario's water community. I'm Kat Farrow, and I'm a member of the Ontario Waterworks Association, and today we're honored to have a very special guest with us, one whose legacy in the industry is both profound and enduring. Our guest today is Marcus Firman. Welcome, Marcus.
Welcome, Kat.
And thank you for inviting me to your lovely home here on the lake to talk about you.
Well, that's going to be interesting.
It is. And we're looking forward to it. We'll start with a toast
Yes.
to water.
To water. Where would we be without it?
Marcus is well known for being a true cornerstone of the water community for almost 50 years. He has made immeasurable contributions to the growth and development of municipal water and wastewater practices, providing leadership and guidance across Ontario, Canada, and internationally.
Well, thank you for those very kind words.
I have more.
Oh.
I have many more.
Carry on.
That's why you're here today. Most recently, Marcus is the director of water. Was the director of water and wastewater services for the District of Muskoka, correct?
Correct.
And the vice president and director of the AWWA.
Yep.
And the past president of the OWWA.
Yes. And I am a past president.
Amongst other things.
Yes.
The Water 2050 AWWA initiative.
Correct.
And most recently, the inaugural recipient of the OWWA eponymously named Marcus Firman Mentorship Award.
Yes, thank you, Kat.
We're fortunate to have you with us today to reflect on your lifelong contributions, to share your unique perspective on the evolution of drinking water industry. Everyone, please join me in welcoming Marcus Firman.
Thank you, Kat, for those very, very kind words. And it's been a wonderful career to be in, and I've enjoyed every part of it. Wherever I've been, actually. And the associations are an important part of that, actually, membership of the association. Are key to actually the passing of knowledge and the transfer of information and the camaraderie that you get from meeting fellows of similar mind.
Absolutely agree. I can't wait to get more out of yours.
Good luck.
Okay. I'm going to start by asking you a few questions about your background with the OWWA.
Okay.
I know you've been a very active member, and we just want a little more information about what you've learned over the years as a member and a leader.
Okay.
So, Marcus, what leadership roles or committee positions have you held within the OWWA and AWWA, and what were your key accomplishments or contributions in those roles?
So I started off with the local affairs committees, actually, for various conferences that were held in the Collingwood area. And that was great fun to do and organise and part of it. So I started with the main committees I was on was local affairs committees. I did a lot of work also with the ministry, representing OWWA, helping to put together or contributing to the procedure for the disinfection.
Oh, wow.
I've also done a lot of wastewater stuff as well. Some of that is with working with the ministry also. It's about doing it not just as with the municipalities, I was doing that with consultants as well. I think, and I may be taking away a question here from you in the future, but it's part of the benefits of being a member of an association. You actually bring together those different facets of the industry, by the operations, operators, management, consultants, and even financial people for the gathering of information, because you all have the same common goal of producing an excellent product. And let's be fair, that's what potable water is. It's a product, and it takes a lot of processing to get there. Likewise with wastewater, the return of the effluent takes a lot of processing before it's suitable to release back into the environment. So in that processing, and people don't seem to understand that, they think it's just, we got all this water in Canada that it's just in the pipes and I turn my tap on and it comes out of the tap. They don't realise the amount of work and effort that goes into making that water suitable for consumption. And that's huge. It's something that the public don't consider. They think that water is just water. It comes out of the tap. Well, no, it's actually a product. And it's a very reasonable product at that. Priced product.
I agree. And it takes a community, just like any other.
Yes, it does. And the wonderful thing about this community, the water industry, is they're the best people you'll ever meet, actually. Their goals are high, their intentions are solid. It's been a pleasure all my life to be a part of that industry.
And a passion.
And a passion. Well, the passion grows, right? It doesn't start off that way. It really doesn't. Well, I didn't find it started off that way. So I started by just applying for a job that I was kind of qualified for at the Southern Water Authority in the UK. I hadn't actually completed my higher national diploma. I'd already done an ordinary national. So it's a full-time 4-year study, was equivalent to a degree at one point. I just applied and they gave me an interview and said, strangely enough, I'm actually qualified in building and with a structural bias. So I actually, structures is the things I was into.
You were building bridges.
Building homes or buildings.
Yeah. Now you're building bridges.
Trying to build bridges, yes. Yeah.
I think we need another cheers, Marcus.
Cheers.
To water.
To water. Ooh, yum.
Wearing my no water, no hockey shirt.
I've got my Ontario Waterworks Association shirt on.
Represent.
To represent, exactly.
All right, I have a few more questions for you. Actually, quite a few.
Did you want me to go on a bit more about?
I would like you to go on as long as you like about things, but.
So I got the job because I said I can design small pipes for a building, I can design big pipes as well. Not exactly true, but believe me, I got the job. It was a great job. Yeah, it was back in the day. This was in the UK, and they had the 3-day working week imposed on people because of power cuts, because the miners were on strike. And it was all a long time ago, and a great place to work. My first major project was basically designing and putting the drafting together for force main and new primary tank at a sewage treatment facility. It was a good job because I had to do everything. So from the survey, I did the survey down to the drafting, down to the putting together, doing the quantity surveying, doing the structural design of the tank, doing the hydraulic design of the force main, and supervising the construction. It was the whole project. They gave me the whole project to do, which I can't think of a better experience than that. They would give you that responsibility to do, and
Sounds like you weren't daunted at all.
no, just
More excited about it.
yeah, totally excited about it. But you know, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? You have to undertake the task. So there's been many force mains done before, although there weren't that many plastic ones. So this is in the days of really early plastic or PVC force mains, which is interesting.
Okay, well, sounds like you have a lot of experience right off the hop, like right at the beginning of your career. Back to the OWWA and your involvement with the committees. What would you say is the most enjoyable aspect of being involved in an OWWA committee?
Well, I think I've touched on this a little bit earlier. It's actually the combination of all the facets and skill sets of the whole industry, from operators to management to project management to all of these people together, consultants to municipal managers who have to always have that eye on that budget, which is actually no different than when you're working with consultants, or if you're working for a consultant. It's all about budget. It all drives down to the bottom line. So, but the gathering in these committees, you have all these disciplines and all these people together, transferring information, and that's key. It's the forming of relationships that bridge all those differences with the common goal of providing that essential service that's required. It's a wonderful thing to actually share and actually be part of.
So you think the work that you do with OWWA committees impacts a broader industry?
I think it sets an example of how industries should work and how cooperation between those different factions really work. I actually believe in total water, and it should include water, wastewater and stormwater under one umbrella because it's all water. And so I would like to see a merging of associations.
The concept of one water that we've been working on over the last couple of years. We're just going to go to commercial for one quick moment. Our sponsors are wine, the only thing you can drink instead of
water.
We'll have the wine. Welcome back to What You Need to H2O Know with Marcus and Kat. Marcus, to continue our conversation with OWWA committees, what's a surprising outcome that you've had from being involved with a OWWA committee?
The most surprising outcome was the award I received last year and the honour of the naming of that award to.
The Marcus Firman
Yeah,
Mentorship Award.
it sounds like it was very formal, but I mentor very much informally, and I believe in that. I think it's about passing on information, being there, being a sounding board, and talking to people. Let them talk to you, and being open so you can hear.
From my personal experience of your mentorship, I couldn't think of a better person to have that award named after them.
It was such a shock and such an honour.
You shouldn't be shocked at all.
Yeah, it was a total surprise. It was yeah.
That's good. It's good that you're honored. Okay, so what advice would you give someone who's thinking about entering becoming a committee member for the OWWA?
Do it. Join up.
Do it.
Do it and participate. Be a part of it. Take responsibility. You will get back far more than you put into it. So do it.
100%. I agree. Okay, so just a couple more here on the OWWA. Now you've been involved with the OWWA and on the AWWA level, amongst other international things. So given your involvement with both associations at both levels, American and Canadian, how have you seen the collaboration between the Canadian and American water professionals evolve, and what are the benefits of the cross-border cooperation?
Well, that's interesting. It's a tough question, actually, because I actually believe that Ontario is a leader in the industry, and we're not actually given that acclamation. I think we do things a lot better in many ways than most, and that's not just
Than both the US and
US
Canada
and Canada.
combined?
Yeah, both. I was shocked at the last ACE, the one in Toronto, when the AWWA representative who was visiting, their visiting officer, basically said to me, we could not get our stuff approved in Ontario.
Wow.
And I was thinking,
So the collaboration needs to be better.
yeah,
On a
or
different level.
lessons ought to be learned.
Yeah.
You see, they're pushing things like lead and copper issues at the moment. We did that many years ago. We're ahead of it already, particularly on lead, and thanks to work like of Dan Huggins and his committees and his knowledge, we sorted out a lot of what should be done with lead.
So how does the EPA level up? Like, we do follow a lot of the EPA guidelines to create ours.
Right.
Does it work the other way as well?
Tends not to. Tends not to. We are just one of 40 odd sections, right? And we speak differently, and we use different units. I keep trying to explain to them that the rest of the
football
world.
fields are longer and the balls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it's
It's ever so slight differences that
while
separate people.
but it also, yes, but they can be very close-minded sometimes. And
I'm glad Ontario's open-minded, and we're
yes,
learning
exactly,
from not only growing on our own above and beyond that, but learning from other people. Lessons learned.
They are.
I don't want to say mistakes because there aren't any. It's just lessons learned.
Lessons learned. It's true. True.
So, well, looking back at your time with the OWWA and AWWA, what legacy would you like to leave with these organizations and the water sector at large?
Oof. My legacy. I don't know. I think they should have a goal to try and carry on doing what they're doing, and become the total waters associations, and provide that service to everybody. I actually think that it has to go deeper than that. Actually, I think they should be pushing or they should be pushing for a whole new acts under the government. There should be a water act, so that we get rid of the Clean Water Act, we get rid of the Safe Drinking Water Act, we put it together as a water act, so it carries the same weight and it is as important. You don't have that. Why differentiate? There ought to be a requirement, I believe, for quality management and wastewater, as well as, and we're heading that way. CSA have come up with a new standard for that, which I was part of that group that number one funded it, but I was one of the initial people to contribute to that.
What would you say your legacy?
My legacy?
Your legacy, specifically. Not the legacy of the industry, but what do you want to leave your impression on? How do you want to leave your impression? Your influence.
I think I want to be known as being open-minded, being somebody you could talk to, and discuss solutions with. It's all about solutions.
It is.
And I'd like people to approach me and just talk about it.
Okay, well, we'll do some more of that.
Okay.
Right after this commercial break. Oh, Marcus, I've got a few more questions for you.
Okay.
Actually, I'm just starting my questions.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to talk about your career beginnings, your journey.
Oof.
Yeah.
That's
So,
a long career.
Questions as best as possible. And
I will endeavour to do that.
yeah. Okay. Can you take us back to the beginning of your career? What inspired you to get involved in the water industry?
It was the best paid job that was being advertised at the time. I was just graduating or getting out of college. I was taking my finals that year, and there was a job advertised, and I applied for it. And it was with the Water Authority in the UK, actually on the sewage side. West Kent Drainage Division of the Southern Water Authority.
And you took off with it.
And I got the job, and it was the best paid job of the year. So
oh, wonderful!
It was great, actually. I didn't know what I was doing, so.
So now, is there a particular aspect of the water industry that you're passionate about?
I'm more passionate about people understanding about how important water is and essential water is, and that's the whole aspect of water. That's both potable and wastewater. In fact, I changed the name of our plants in Muskoka because we had 9. I call them clean water plants, which are what you would call a wastewater treatment plant.
Okay.
So I call them clean water plants because that's what they produce.
Oh.
And potable water plants because that's what they produce. You don't go to a car factory and say, "What is this? Is it a steelworks?" Yeah, it is, but really it's a car factory. I think calling it a wastewater treatment facility or whatever plant, really, you don't start from the beginning. What are you producing here? Because you are producing clean water, or you are producing potable water. So it raised a few eyebrows at the ministry, but they actually did it. I don't know whether it's still in existence now, but when I was there as the director,
the mindset has changed at a few plants that I work at to resource recovery facility,
Well, that works as well, but that's only a part of it.
water purification plant,
Uh,
which they're getting away from because it's not purifying water.
Right.
To
Yeah.
I can't think of it, but yeah, it's becoming a more positive, and we
Yeah.
want to put a more positive spin
I
on it,
think
so
you
more
need to
people
put-
become involved.
Yeah.
With poo.
The one I ate was a pollution control plant. Really?
Ugh.
It's a pollution control
It's not
plant?
pollution.
It's not pollution. We actually put a product back into the environment that's for the most part, cleaner than the water that's naturally there.
And there's some nutrient recycling involved too.
Yes. Anyhow,
that's great. So how did your background in education prepare you for your career?
it didn't. It's something that you pick up as you go through. What your education does is, or did for me, was to teach you where to look, who to ask, and use the resources that are already there. You're not there to reinvent the wheel. Somebody's done this before, and that's one of the benefits of being a member of an association, where you can reach out to people that may have that information.
It's one of the biggest benefits.
It is the major benefit. So my career's always been full of that. I've never been afraid of doing the first of anything if I think it's reasonable and acceptable and will be of a benefit to the end product. Both in wastewater and in water. I designed actually the Elmvale sewage treatment plant, which was quite a big thing because of the Seven Sound Remedial Action Plan, which the Wye River was a big part of that, and nutrients, and it was at the time one of the lowest phosphorus limits in the province to achieve. We did that through dual alum addition, 2-point alum addition, and deep bed filters, continuous filters, that were Dynasand filters, deep bed Dynasand filters at the time, to achieve such a low criteria, and we were the major part of the Seven Sound Regional Action Plan being lifted. It was a big part of that.
We're seeing a lot of that in Lake Simcoe now and other lakes too.
Well, you can go further now. Technology is advanced that you could really get down to, if you really wanted, you could take all the phosphorus out of the water, but the expense of doing something like that goes beyond the benefit.
Exactly. As do a lot of things.
Sorry?
As do a lot of things.
As do a lot of things, yes.
You have to find an optimization point. I
Correct.
agree.
Correct.
Yeah. So when you first started, what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced and how did you overcome them? Advice to people starting out.
Oh, when I first started, I was even printing drawings, the old ammonia drawings, and learning to fold them and putting, because there weren't things like photocopiers. There wasn't things like printing machines. It was ammonia machines. When I started drafting, I would draft in pencil and then give my draft to a tracer that would actually trace my drawings in ink.
Wow.
So that, and all the engineers as well as the technicians would produce that way. We would do our drafting and hand it to a tracer.
Wow.
To come up with a finished product.
I don't go that far back, but almost.
I know.
I remember carbon copy.
Do you remember the old ammonia machines for printing?
No, that's really interesting.
Oh my word!
We've come a long way.
We've come a long, long way since. Anyhow, but Yeah, and Gestetner machines for actually producing.
We would have had to had a whole rental crew in here to produce a video like this back then, because it wasn't something that we could do easily with our phones.
It's interesting.
Okay, so it sounds like you've had a very interesting journey.
Yeah.
Who has been an important inspiration to you in the industry, and why?
Ooh.
If you were to talk to them right now. Not me.
Yeah, it's don't belittle yourself. I think what inspires me is everybody in the association, everybody in the industry, the way they all, and this comes down to operations as well, the way that operators feel about water and wastewater and the job they do, and it means a lot to them. They're very passionate, and actually, when you get involved with passionate people, that's the joy. It's everybody. I work. The way I've learned is by gathering of information from people that know, and it's been all sorts of people, all sorts of reasons why you learn things. So I think you immerse yourself in the industry, and the industry actually teaches you. You learn, you gain knowledge from the industry, and you find ways that you can gather more knowledge and more information. And associations are part of that, and give a return.
Yeah, I agree. The networking is
it's key.
It is key. So if you weren't in the water industry, what do you think you'd be doing right now? Where do you think you would have ended up?
You know, I've got no idea.
Ooh.
No,
his wife just said, "Be a movie star."
Yes,
he's pretty photogenic.
She's funny. You know, it's never crossed my mind. Once I was in the industry.
When you were a little boy, you said, "I want to grow up and be a wastewater."
No, I didn't. No. When I was a little boy, or a young lad, anyhow, I actually wanted to produce maps. I want to be a cartographer.
Oh, cool job!
Right, so I wanted to go out and survey and generate new maps. That's what I wanted to do.
Was that the creating the map part or the exploring part? That
all of it.
All of it.
All of it.
Travel.
Yeah. Well,
that's great.
Travel, but didn't even think about the travel. It wasn't that. It was the ability to actually survey and produce something that was of use. Yeah.
Well, now it's all on the computer, so.
Yeah, I know.
Back to water.
I know, but
we still haven't.
But we're back in the day. I'm almost
back to water.
You know.
So let's move into your mentorship and leadership. Career givings that you've provided to others. You've provided advice and mentorship to so many others during your tenure as a water professional. Can you first share your experiences as a mentee? How you were influenced?
So, I don't see myself. Well, I was a gatherer of information from the get-go. So I used, I guess you can call me a mentee, but it was such a broad spectrum of people that I was asking or seeking information from that you couldn't put it down to any one person at all. And again, that's why association membership is key, and contributing to committees on areas that you need to develop in. I think that committee membership is a great vehicle for that, actually.
Sorry.
We
come back to it takes a village.
It takes a village, and yeah, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and you can improve on things, and you can put your own self into whatever the project is, but you can also take it from other people this is maybe a direction that I need to go in, and I didn't think about that. Gathering that information, right? And that's where you can get committee and talking with other people. And it doesn't have to be a mentor, it doesn't have to be a single person, and it probably shouldn't be. I think you need to be open and be willing to have discussions and conversations with whoever.
Idea exchange.
Yeah.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received? Should have prepped you.
Yeah, that was a tougher one. It all comes down to the bottom line. And you have to keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on the bottom line, because it's either going to affect the profit you make as a consultant, or it's going to affect the taxes people have to pay. So both of those would apply. So as you go up through the system, be aware of your time and charge it appropriately. And I think you have to keep an eye on the mighty dollar, I'm afraid.
Unfortunately, it does come down to that. So as a mentor, what qualities do you look for in the next generation of water professionals?
I think they need to get out there. I think they need to be socializing a lot more, and I don't mean on a phone. I mean face-to-face discussion with people is the best way to learn, and the best way to have relationships, actually. So my advice for young people is join associations, mingle, mix, contribute, seek out the elders as well, and have discussions with them about topics that interest you, but come with solutions. Don't come with problems. This society has become a problem society, and it's all about grievance. We got to get back to being a society that's based on solutions. Come with solutions. Be a part of the fix. Don't be a part of the problem. Be a part of the fix, the solution.
That's good information for sure. Could you share a memorable story where you had to guide someone through a pivotal moment in their career?
Ooh. I guess that could be you, Kat, but
could be me.
It's been many people actually. It's hard to say. I will endeavour to always give you my opinion, and if I see something in somebody, I will tell them. I believe. I like to think I do that. If I see opportunities for people, I'd like to point them in the right directions. I think that's
you do.
growing old's about.
Yeah. Can you think of what do you think is the most important lesson you've imparted to your mentees over the years? Is there something your go-to that you like to make sure is passed on?
I would like people to be more open-minded and be willing to discuss. And it's okay to disagree and to have a different opinion. I think that's how things improve. Not everybody has to agree with what you say or what you do, but it should be discussed. I think conversations are important, and they should be taken on the ground that you're all trying to do your best anyhow. So don't be upset if somebody disagrees. Find out why. Find out if there's some common ground. Is there things you could use? Are there things you could use? Are there things you can contribute? It's about driving to consensus, not driving for a compromise. There's always a loser in a compromise.
Mm-hmm.
Both sides actually lose something in a compromise. So it's important that you drive to consensus, where there's an agreement on the way forward. I think that's the biggest thing for me.
So disagreement can be constructive.
Of course it can.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need to be a devil's advocate as well.
Mm-hmm.
To actually get that conversation going and start to drive to the right solution. But you don't want to see, I don't know the word devil's advocate, but you don't want all of that all the time. You have to create that conversation so you get...
Or someone else will.
Yeah.
And it'll be later in the process.
Exactly, and that's not good, right?
Yeah.
You've got to cover all aspects and have that full open discussions early on in projects, so that you're moving in the right direction from the get-go.
Yeah.
And consensus again.
I completely agree. So we're going to get into some more questions. We're going to take a short break.
Okay. Go.
Hi, welcome back. We're interviewing Marcus Firman,
Hi, Kat.
longtime mentor and leader in the industry of water and wastewater. Hi, Marcus.
Hi, Kat.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Yes,
We
a
hope
pleasure
you-
to be here.
And another cheers to water.
Of course, cheers to water.
Cheers. So we're going to get into some of the nitty-gritty
Okay.
of your positional feelings on some aspects. So the role of the water industry in society, first of all.
Okay.
So the role of water is fundamental to society, yet it's often taken for granted. How can we raise awareness about the critical importance of water conservation and management of our resource?
Well, I personally think it's too fractured at the moment. I think people point at wastewater and then they point at drinking water and then they're concerned about storm water, particularly with all the intensive storms we're having at the moment. And really, it's all water, and it all has to be treated with the essential nature that it really is, and it's essential in nature. It's essential to actually survive, and it's the reason we're here. Right? So we need to get the public understanding how essential all of the services that we provide are. And I think that would help if there was a common act as well of Parliament that governed or regulated water, wastewater and stormwater, rather than keeping them separate and fractured. I think they need to be brought together. I also think in many ways it should be taken out of the hands of municipalities. I really think that water, wastewater and stormwater should be dealt with within its natural boundaries, not within made up boundaries like municipalities. And you have to do that when you're looking at things like wastewater and stormwater, and even drinking water. I mean, it's important that you look at a bigger scope. So I really believe that there ought to be corporations or service boards or whatever you want to call them, but they should be based on something more natural like watershed or sub-watersheds. Sub-watersheds,
political boundaries.
not political boundaries, and not subject to political whim. And some of that has happened within the water industry by making politicians actually have to do due diligence and culpable for some of the decisions they make. Why shouldn't that be the same for wastewater or even stormwater? If you look at the issues they're having with some of the stormwater issues now and flooding, why is it causing so much damage? Number one, building in a floodplain is probably not a good idea. And you need more authority. Although it's nice to be down at the river, sitting there on waterfront property, but in the end, it's going to flood, or it potentially could flood if it's within the floodplain. So, why would you build there in the first place, or not take that into consideration when if you are going to build? Take all of those things into consideration. But that's the problem with having different departments and different avenues looking at these things. That's why water needs to be brought together. It's not just about providing safe water for people to drink, and which is crucial to public health. So is wastewater. Actually, both of those are crucial for public health. Stormwater is crucial for where you can live and how you can utilise the land, and you have to be aware of the impacts of stormwater. And I think that's all becoming very apparent now with climate change. And
So we're still a bit short-sighted.
we are a bit short-sighted, and it all comes down to the mighty dollar again. And what does a politician not like to do? Increase taxes on people.
Or water utility.
For water utilities and wastewater, basically out of sight, out of mind. As long as they turn the tap on, water comes out, everybody's happy. Or they flush the toilet, it goes away, everybody's happy. They're not so happy when the river bursts its banks and floods their house or their homes. Or worse. But these things have to be budgeted for and allowed for and looked after.
So, what are some of the biggest challenges facing the water industry today?
That, I would say.
Yeah, the lack of...
The lack of true understanding of water and wastewater, and how essential it is and how key it is for society, actually. Why would you build something in the middle of nowhere where there's no water supply and have to use precious energy to get a water supply to it? And vice versa with the wastewater. It's I know growth is important, but intensification is probably the way to go, rather than...
It's a very interesting perspective, probably not a popular one, but that's
Probably
what we've
not.
got to do
Probably not.
for growth.
But yeah, people have got that little bit of heaven. They don't want to share that with anybody else, right? And I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm part of that. You know.
Yeah, we do all follow that path. Okay, so what do you see emerging technologies or innovations impacting the future of water management?
I think we have to do a lot more And some utilities are going there with asset management. I think we've got to get more out of what we've got. I have no issue. I don't foresee problems of us not being able to do things. I think we will always innovate and come up with things that will solve issues that we're having. I think the issues are cost and sustainability. And cost is a big part of that. And how do you fund it? I personally think that we are all users of this world, and so as water is, and I mean total water, it is the essence of life. Without it, there is no life here. That everybody has to contribute to that. It's not just a user fee.
So
I use water, I pay a fee. But Joe Blow down here also should be paying a fee, particularly on the wastewater side, because it's important. I think there should be if you look at it as an essential part of public health, then public health ought to fund water and wastewater to some way, and that's a general tax on the people, a small amount, but everybody has to pay it.
Yeah, it comes back to a conversation we had earlier about water and wastewater services being essential, and
Yes.
how that's governed differently than it should be, then it would be more optimal.
Yeah,
You know?
I think it should be removed. There's always going to be some sort of politics involved.
Again, not the popular
But
vote, but
No,
yeah, there's that.
but municipal service
Challenge.
boards with the appropriate people and expertise is the way to go, in my opinion. But almost like water authorities, but learn the lessons of water authorities.
Yeah.
The water authorities in the UK were a good system. They were best system when they were what's called a quango, which is a quasi-autonomous non-government organisation. So they were set up to privatise, but they weren't privatised immediately. And in that hiatus between being solely with the municipality and then solely privatised, they hit a sweet spot where they had the right goals in mind and tried to provide the service for everybody, actually. I think that was the right model. They went away from it and actually drove down to the mighty dollar again. But the government should be looking at just being regulators and looking at monitoring these separate corporations, whatever they may be. But they need to be bigger, and they need to be established on natural boundaries.
And the OWWA doesn't have those boundaries.
The OWWA doesn't have
We
those
do work
boundaries.
together, yeah. Okay, so let's talk about your personal reflections and challenges of your career. What's one lesson that you've learned on the job that was never taught in a textbook?
Ooh.
We're going back to politics, aren't we?
No, we're not going to go back to politics, but actually to listen. You're not, although you are taught to listen, it's actually putting that into practice in life. You don't know everything. Nobody knows everything. Nobody knows. Yeah, just listen. Be open.
What has been your proudest moment in your career?
That's tough. I'd say the award again. But my proudest project actually would have been Sioux Lookout water treatment plant.
Sioux Lookout.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was a boil water advisory on there for 2 years
Why?
because they didn't have any water treatment plant. It was not dissimilar to Collingwood actually
Yeah.
at the time, in that they took water out of the lake and they threw a bit of chlorine in it. That's what it was. But being part of that project and actually doing the design, it was the first colour removal, because it's very coloured waters, north, right? Surface water membrane plant. Yeah, in North America.
What year was that?
I don't know, it's on the I've got the picture outside. I think it's 96, 97, 98.
Wow.
I should tell you whenever that was. But I put that I was working for consultants at the time.
Mm-hmm.
We put that together as a design build, which we said we would do within a year.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew what the budget was because they said this is what we got. So I basically put together a team that was able to design, me, and build it. Well, there's structural elements as well, which I wouldn't do. So electrical and structural and building services, all of those, that team together, that we put together, and we completed that project on time and get approvals
Mm-hmm.
on time, on budget.
And they've got to go work in plants up there.
And they have a nice little plant up there.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So what have been some of the most difficult decisions you've had to make in your leadership role?
The hardest decisions are always with human resource issues, actually, dealing with people.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't like to do it, but sometimes you have to tell people you shouldn't be here. And that's the toughest part of
Yeah.
the job. It's people, not the work itself.
Yeah.
The work's a pleasure.
Yeah. And looking back, is there anything you wish you had done differently in your career or your approach to your leadership? Or was it all just like perfect?
No, I wouldn't say it's all perfect. I developed a reputation for saying the way I thought it is,
Mm-hmm.
without being political. I was accused of being, not accused, I was pointed out as being non-political.
Non-political.
Yeah, it's not true.
So you just kept an open mind on both sides,
You
and,
keep an open mind on both
and
sides,
that sounds
and you
that like
tell people the way it is.
you're expected to take a side.
Yeah,
That's
it's-
difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about being straight with people. Tell them the way it is, and that includes politicians.
Well, and in public health, that's the
Well,
most important ethical quality in
Right.
a water professional.
Right. Tell them the way it is. Yeah, you can't get them what they want. That's not always going to be the case. And don't be afraid to say no.
Cheers.
Cheers to that.
What part of your career brings you the most personal satisfaction?
I've always tried to do what I thought was the right thing. So when something comes to completion, it sometimes takes many years for things to come to fruition and completion. I get satisfaction from that as well, and some of it takes a long time to happen. Yeah, like I said, I've done a number of firsts, and that's kind of interesting. And I must admit, I've had a lot of cooperation with the ministry on a lot of this stuff as well. Yeah, like I say, getting stuff approved quickly can be difficult
Yeah.
at times. But it's all about relationships.
It is. It's all
Yeah.
about the people.
So you have to be open when you're talking as a consultant with regulators. You've got to be open with them and treat them like you treat any other human being. Or you should be treating people.
Oh, it's true.
Yeah.
People make the wheels turn.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah.
can't get much without them. And very much so yourself. You've turned a lot of those wheels. You've put a lot of things in motion in your career.
I don't think so.
Started the initiatives to make things happen. So
Yeah.
and you can't do it all alone.
No, you can't, and sometimes it's a matter of planting seeds.
Mm-hmm. Welcome back to What You Need to H2Know with Marcus Firman. We're going to ask some personal interest questions now.
Ooh, okay.
We want to know a little bit more about you personally. Outside of work, what are some of your hobbies and interests?
I guess my biggest hobby is fishing, actually. I enjoy fishing. It's one of the reasons we're living on the lake. It was one of the reasons we selected where we live as well. There had to be. I enjoy pickle fishing very much. Yeah, that's.
Knew we had a lot in common.
Yeah.
I actually got into water treatment because of fishing.
There you go.
So Marcus,
Yes, Kat.
if you could have one superpower, what would it be and why?
It would be the power to make people treat people appropriately. I think we're all here trying to do our best. I think we should treat each other properly. And if I could make that happen, I think that would be a great superpower.
Here, here.
Here you go.
That is quite the superpower. Cheers.
Oh. Cheers again.
We gotta have a drink.
Wow, what an insightful conversation. A huge thank you to Kat for stepping in and leading such a compelling discussion with Marcus. Many of you will know that I'm lucky enough to consider Kathleen and Marcus very close friends, and it was such a treat for me to listen to them share about Marcus's journey in the water industry. I also wanted to express my thanks to Marcus, who served as an incredible mentor for me as well in my career. And I hope that some of the things you learned about him today will help to solidify the board's decision to create the OWWA Mentorship Award in his name last year. So we are truly honored to have had such an industry leader be such a strong part of the association's history and our path forward. So without extending this too much longer, to our listeners, if you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to subscribe, leave us a comment, or share it with someone who might find it valuable. And as always, thanks for tuning in.